there, this is Stephanie, and I am Stacks on Stacks on Stacks. Today I am coming to you guys with my June wrap up. I read 7 books in June, which is pretty good, saying that I had an entire week with no reading in it. So I'm pretty pleased that I got 7 books out of basically 3 weeks of reading, though one of them was a manga and another one was pretty short, but still, I'm pleased with what I got accomplished. Now, last month I had given myself a goal of reading 9 books, and out of those 9, I read 4. So it wasn't the best for sticking to my TBR, but for the most part, I did enjoy the books that I read. The first book I'm going to talk about is Blue Lily, Lily Blue. Now, this is the 3rd book in the Raven Boys cycle. I enjoyed this book. I think I gave it like a 4.7 out of 5. I really liked it. I liked the first one. I liked the second one, maybe not as much, but I really love this. A lot of it's about Blue and around what's going on with her, and she's a character that I liked, but in this book, I think I just love her. Like, I want to be her friend. I want to hang out with her. So I liked this book a lot. I can't talk about what it's about. It's the 3rd book in the series. It's about a girl named Blue who grows up in a home full of psychics, and she is not a psychic, but she's kind of like a psychic booster. When she's around, their connection is a little clearer. And then it's about these boys that go to this private school near her, and those are the Raven Boys. And let's just say that supernatural things happen, and it's an adventure. I don't want to give anything away because, again, half of the fun of reading a book is the surprise of the book. So if you think you like anything paranormal or you like a mystery, sometimes it's even a bit of a thriller, you would enjoy this cycle. The next book I read this month was A Study in Scarlet, which is the first Sherlock Holmes novel by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Now, this book actually has the first and the second one in it. I only read the first one, and I ended up giving it about a 4.2 out of 5 stars. I really did like this book. I read it pretty quickly. I mean, it's not very big. It's a small book. It took me a little bit to get used to the old writing. I mean, this was written in like 1875, I think. So the writing's a little older, and it took me a little bit to get back into that old writing because I don't think I've read a book this old in probably since the last time I read this. And I'm not really certain that I've read the whole series. I was thinking I had, but now I'm questioning myself. So I'm not giving away any spoilers, but about halfway through this book, the point of view shifts from Sherlock Holmes to like this old guy and a little girl in the desert. And I seriously was like, is there like a different book in the middle of this book? Like, what is going on? I was so confused. And then I was just like, I have no idea what's going on. So I Googled it and I'm like, is there a weird bit in the middle of this? And there is. It's a bit of a flashback from one of the characters that you meet in the book. They just don't say, okay, now this is Bob Dobolino's flashback. No, they don't say anything like that. You're just kind of like, oh, this is Bob Dobolino's flashback. Okay, so it was a little weird at first because it's like a good chunk of the book is this flashback where there is no Sherlock Holmes or anything. Those are the dogs. But it's still great. Like, he's a genius and it's fantastic. And I loved the writing. I loved the book. I'm looking forward to reading more Sherlock Holmes. I don't know if I'll get to it next month, but there will be more to come. The next book that I read this month was the 9th book in a series of unfortunate events. This is the Carnivorous Carnival by Lemony Snicket. Again, it's the 9th book in the series, so I can't really talk about what it's about. It's about 3 orphans three kids whose parents die, so they become orphans. And they're supposed to be finding somebody who will take care of them, for the rest of their lives. And they just have bad luck with things. It's really turning into more of a story now, and I'm really liking that a lot, actually. But I definitely enjoyed it, and I think I probably gave it a 3.6, 3.7 out of 5 stars. Next book I read this month was Land of Stories, The Wishing Spell by Chris Colfer. Now, this is actually, so Chris Colfer was in Glee. Like, that's what I knew him from. He played, oh, what was his name? Kurt. He played Kurt in Glee, the kid, good singer. Well, that's probably most of Glee. But then he wrote this book. I wanted to read this because I heard that it was good, and I actually decided to listen to it. I usually have a book that I'm listening to on my phone. I don't have much room for more than one book at a time, so I usually have at least one book on there at a time that I'm listening to, and I chose to listen to this one because it's read by the author, and I was like, that sounds great. And I gotta tell you, I think I liked the book, but I don't think I liked the way he read it. For starters, his English accents turned into like Southern accents, like really fast. Like he would be mid-sentence and he would all of a sudden be Southern, and he's supposed to be British, and then it wasn't well read. So I'm pretty sure I won't listen to the next one. I'm pretty sure I will just read it because I did not enjoy the listening experience. But I did like the book. I gave it like a 2.6 maybe. I think it could have gotten a higher grade if I would have liked the way it was read, but I gave it a 2.6. It's basically about two kids who get sucked into a book, and the book is full of fairy tales and stuff like that. So they're in the world of like Sleeping Beauty and Cinderella and Snow White and all that kind of stuff, and they want to get the wishing spell, hence the title of the book, to get sent back to our time now. This is a middle grade book, so I usually enjoy middle grade. I didn't love this one though. I will continue on the series because I think I would like it. I think I just didn't like how it was read. The next book I read this month was Full Metal Alchemist Volume 1, and this is a manga. And this was suggested to me on a few different channels of people, like BookTube people, who like and read manga. And there was another one that I started called Orange, but then I had to take it back to the library, so I didn't get to finish it. So I'm hoping that I can finish that one soon, and whenever it gets back from the library again. So I picked this one up instead because it was just sitting there, and I was like, well, it's volume 1 and I've heard about it and I liked it. It was a little kiddish for me. I've been told that the story develops more, so I will get more into it, and I will probably keep reading this series because it's a really quick read. It's like 3 stories in one tiny little volume. I literally was sitting waiting at the doctor's office and I read the whole book. So it's a pretty quick read, but I did like it. I think I gave it like a 3.3 out of 5 stars. It was good. Probably not something I'd reread, but definitely something I want to keep reading. The next book I read was The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. Now, this book. This was a really hard book for me to read because there's so much injustice that goes on in this book. Like, I had so many thoughts and feelings about this book now, but I read it at the beginning of the month. And it's the end of the month now, and I'm thinking about it, and I'm just like, this book. Okay, so basically this is a book about a girl named Star, and she kind of lives in a rough neighborhood, but her parents have sent her to a private school to get a better education. This like nice neighborhood somewhere else, and it's full of like, you know, rich white kids, and she is not a rich white kid. So she kind of acts one way at that school, and then she acts a different way when she's like in her own neighborhood and stuff like that. So it's a lot about her journey, and it's from her point of view, which is good. Well, in the midst of this slightly confusing life that she leads, a childhood friend of hers who is black like her gets shot by a white police officer, and she is right there in the car when it happens. So she's got some stuff to deal with. Like, I literally would read some of this book and then I would put it down for a day. I'd read some and put it down for a day because there's just so much injustice, and it's ridiculous to me. Like, why would you treat somebody differently because of the color of their skin? I cannot comprehend why. Why? Blah. It gets me riled because it is so unfair. It is not right. And the fact that it happens today in 2017, like, this is something you read about in books, and yeah, it happened in the 60s, or yeah, it happened in the 30s, but it happens now, and I'm like, it's just so not right. It's just, This is a book that has definitely opened my eyes to more things, and it's made me understand how Black people feel about things. And they're just things that I never would have thought of, and I realized that I've never had to think that way. I've never had to, because I'm just this white chick who grew up in this small town full of other white chicks, and I've never had to consider this before. And the things that Angie Thomas talks about in this book are real, and the things that Angie Thomas you experience with Star in this book are very, very real, and they should be listened to. You should pay attention. You should read this book. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. It was a very hard 5 out of 5, and I also had to think about it because this was not a feel-good contemporary book. This was a think hard contemporary book. This was a look at your life contemporary book. This was a book that made me think, you know, what can I do? What kind of difference can I make? You know, I feel like I'm in a small town, but then I think how I treat people is different, and how the way I look at people and the way I talk to people, that is where the difference is going to begin. It's on how do you treat others, whether they are, you know, Black or Muslim or Indian or whatever the difference is between you and them. How you treat them is absolutely huge to them. And I mean, they're just another human being, so why treat them any differently than you would your white neighbor or what have you? So I feel very jumbled on this topic. I feel like I'm not very eloquent. I feel like what I'm wanting to say may not be coming across, but I'm going to recommend this book. I'm going to recommend that you read this book because I want to do a book review on it, but I just feel like I can't quite gather my thoughts to something concise, so I probably won't. But this is a book that makes you think, and it is a good think. And it is a book that is worth reading. And for me, it was a book that was hard to read because I hate to think that people are going through hard things like this in my own country. So, all that aside, read the book. And the last book that I read this month is A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. I just finished this book like, let's see, a couple hours ago I finished this book. And I really, really liked it. I'm thinking I'm going to give it like, I want to give it a 5-star rating, but I think I'm going to give it like a 4.7 or a 4.8. And that's because it has had so much hype. I don't know what I was expecting, but I was expecting something different. Something, I mean, I don't know, more wow, more surprise. And then there were a couple parts I was kind of confused. It does do some perspective jumping, and I am not great at handling perspective jumping. I am one of those people who just one perspective is great for me. You do more than one and I'm like, wait a second, who are we? And then I have to go back a couple pages and be like, okay, yeah, I know where you are. But I don't know, maybe I just don't pay very good attention. It's totally possible. But there were a few times they would jump perspectives and I'd be like, wait, what are we doing? So that part of it I did find a little bit confusing, but I really enjoyed the world that she built here. I enjoyed the magic system, and I'm excited to enjoy the sequels as they come. I am pretty certain I'm going to try and get to the next one next month because, yep, I liked this one. So I'm going to say 4.7 out of 5 stars. I'm really hoping that the second one kind of lives up to the hype. This one, I would say, almost lived up to the hype. I just wish it wasn't so hyped. I mean, I love to recommend a good book too, but when like 45 people are saying, it's the best, it's 5 out of 5 stars, I'm expecting something pretty. So when it comes in here, I'm a little disappointed that it's not 5 out of 5 stars, like just a gimme 5 out of 5. So that's my little rant. That's one of the reasons I don't like to hear about hyped books. I rather read a book like a year after it's hyped so that I can be like, perfectly good perspective. I am over all of that hype, blah, 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 blah. But I'm a little weird. We all know this. So those are all the books that I have read in the month of June. Go ahead and comment down below with the best book that you read in June. Maybe it's a book I've read and we can talk about it, or maybe it's a book I need to be putting on my to be read pile down the road. If you like this video, please feel free to click the like button. And if you want to subscribe, please feel free to click the subscribe. I usually post videos on Tuesdays and Fridays. Thanks again for watching, you guys, and I will see you soon with another video soon. Goodbye.